Before we move on to the next video, this little piece of news comes from comicbook.com, and this concerns the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Oh.
And it says, Spider-Man PS4 has 3 difficulty levels: friendly, amazing, and spectacular.
Oh.
Yes. Insomniac, congratulations so far. You're making me want this game even more now. But then again, you're Insomniac. You made the original Spyro games and Ratchet & Clank.
Marvel's Spider-Man is barely a month away, and the closer we get to launch, the more and more details and media of the game surface. And the more that this happens, the more it becomes evident that Insomniac Games is taking special care with the title in order to not only deliver a game worthy of the hero starring in it, but his very passionate fan base. One of the ways to any fan's heart is with the small stuff, the clever nods, callbacks, and references to the finer details, the type of stuff that not only the most devoted fans would appreciate, and Marvel's Spider-Man has this in abundance in the form of countless Easter eggs, a huge offering of suit options, all of the things that only hardcore Spider-Man and Marvel fans care about and go nutty for. That said, one of these small touches has revealed itself has to do with the game's difficulty settings. In Marvel's Spider-Man, players have the option of 3 difficulty settings: easy, normal, and hard. Pretty basic, uninteresting stuff, but rather than labeling them as such, Insomniac Games took this opportunity to exhibit its thoughtfulness. So instead of having easy, normal, and hard difficulty settings, Marvel's Spider-Man has friendly, amazing, and spectacular difficulties. Friendly is obvious, that the stand-in for easy, while amazing replaces normal, and hard is substituted with spectacular. Now, if you know your Spider-Man, you know that the 3 difficulty settings are callbacks to the different runs of Spider-Man comics. The Amazing Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and the Spectacular Spider-Man. Pretty neat reference, huh? And also Spectacular Spider-Man was the 2009 series. As previously noted, players will be able to change the difficulty setting at any moment. It's currently unclear how drastically different each setting is from one to another, or how Insomniac Games specifically goes about calibrating each, but it presumably is pretty standard difficulty setting design. Well, first off, since Wynn chimed in because she knows of Insomniac's game designs, how do you feel about how they're labeling the difficulty settings?
Love it! It's like, come on. For the highest difficulty, they went with one of the best out of the series next to maybe the 1994 cartoon.
Yeah.
It just shows how much respect they have for the IP. And Insomniac has done games that mostly were knocked right out of the park. As I said, the original Spyro trilogy, the Ratchet and Clank franchise, Sunset Overdrive, even though it was Xbox One only, from what I understand, it was pretty damn fun. And with them collaborating with Toys for Bob to do the Reignited trilogy, which I am excited for, I definitely have full faith that Insomniac will deliver a very ideal Spider-Man game and give us something, the Spider-Man game we've been looking for since Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2.
That game was awesome. Because that is one of the few Spider-Man games that I hold in such high regard. I mean, graphically compared to the first Spider-Man game that they put out to tie in with the original movie, it doesn't hold up with it, but I think what they lack graphically, they make up for so much with game content in not only following its own version of the movie storyline, but being able to go all around Manhattan.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
literally
not gonna lie. I skipped most of the mini game options because it was just so damn distracting to web swing throughout Manhattan. It was just too damn fun.
Yeah, the one web slinging trick I like to do is where you can web them up, but then hang them underneath a street light. I'm like, yeah, that's fun to do. and then when you just sort of you have them tied up, but then you just go kicking and punching them as they're hanging up. It's like, well, I gotta do something before the cops come along. I may as well do something to amuse myself with. And it's like the interactions he has with people on the ground. It's like, yo, Spidey, you the man. No, you the man. But yeah, that's they've tried to emulate the Spider-Man 2 game throughout the years, and I know they tried with Amazing Spider-Man. That worked to a degree, and the less we say about the Spider-Man 3 game, the better, because that was not one of their better ones. I mean, it was all right, but it wasn't Spider-Man 2. It's like for some people, the only decent Grand Theft Auto game is Vice City. I hold that particular bias because it was not only set in the 80s, the best decade for movies, TV, music, and there's a certain little show called Knight Rider. You may have heard of it once or twice, but it was just the way that the game was designed, the story, the casting that they got for the voice talent, and the soundtrack for that game. It was just one of those games where everything fell into place. Everything was just perfect. When you have the likes of Michael Thomas, who played Ricardo Tubbs on Miami Vice, you had Ray Liotta. It's very rare if you ever see that guy not playing a douchebag in any movie, because that's the only role he seems to know how to play. Whereas with this one, he's an antagonist, but he's a protagonist in the weirdest way possible. And you have like the late Dennis Hopper in there as well. There was just such an ensemble vocal cast that just made that game work. We're back off on topic for Spider-Man 4 game. It's like if you have a movie or another video game that's just being so respectful to what has gone before, and the fact that they're having those particular little nods and references throughout the whole Spider-Man lore and history, it's like that's a step in the right direction. So I can't really fault that. Our first lady of awesome, what is her decree?
I gotta say, from what I've seen so far and hearing all the news about it, really wants me to pick up the game really bad. I know I'd suck at it, but it's like I want to try it anyways. As you can tell, I'm terrible at video games, but it's like it always makes me want to try them anyways.
You just coming in like, I am the awesome spider lady. Yes, she is.
Then I run into a wall, smack. Okay, maybe I'm not that awesome.
Raiden, same question.
It's good. It's pretty good. I mean, for what I've seen with the whole game story, it's just great, and the whole difficulty thing is it's playful, and it knows what it needs to be. So when the game comes out, they're like it's gonna dominate. So good on them.
Alrighty. Up next,